So we're hi. um I I am working on a Hacker News client. Um and it's going. Um I've been trying to get more and more into web development. None of you know me, so I guess maybe an introduction. I don't really do these kind of videos, but I think it might be good to kind of get myself out there a little more, because everybody's got some sort of YouTube or whatever else. Um, I'm an engineer. That's true. At my job, I'm a quote unquote senior engineer, and for the better part of a few months, I I've been working on a web development project for my company, and can't say I'm the biggest fan of the stack. It's very heavily based in Python and Flask, and I'm more of I used to like Java or used to like Python, but JavaScript's definitely more of my jam now. Um, let's see here. I'm gonna start a little stopwatch so I don't just. I have a good habit of rambling. Um, yeah, so I do web development. And I bought this fancy microphone a while back, but most days I just use my laptop mic. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I might as well use this cool microphone um, and do some coding with it. So yeah, I do engineering, do web dev. I do a lot of, or I used to do more automation testing. So using stuff like Playwright, Selenium, or whatever, Selenium, however you want to say that, Cypress, and so on and so forth. Um, but my interests have diverged from that for some time. So I've been trying to get more and more into web development. Okay, that intro was probably too long. I have set up and have been working on um, a website that leverages the Hacker News public API. Um, so I can kind of create my own client for Hacker News. This is fine. Like the UI is fine. And I know some people like this kind of minimal style. That's cool. But like if we look at old.reddit.com, I kind of, I grew up with more of this, like thumbnail, title, information, so on and so forth. So I've been trying to design in that way, although I'm not much of a designer, and I have dabbled in web development for a long time, but I'm trying to kind of sharpen up my skills. I'm not the best developer in the world, but I'm pretty good at stumbling my way through things, I guess. Ultimately, what I actually want to do is try and contribute more to open source in general. And I'm hoping that through my interactions with web development, that I'm able to do that. So perhaps I can get more familiar with certain libraries and then contribute to them later on. Um, Sorry, I am also getting pinged here and there, although this is my free time. So I'll get back to that shortly. So, for this introduction video, um, and I don't even know how often I will be posting. I kind of work on this intermittently, but perhaps filming myself working on it will get me more into it. Um, Yeah, so for this introduction video, excuse my loss of train of thoughts. Thoughts of trains? I want to just kind of take you through the code base, show you the website, kind of talk about both my front end and back end services, where I'm at, what I want to implement, and so on and so forth, and hopefully we can get that done. here, relatively soon. So, HackerCrust is the name of this website, and it's a little. Let's see, am I zoomed in? I am zoomed in. All right, let's unzoom so it doesn't look as funny. So this is the site as it is right now. I'm using a React front end based off. This was a poor choice. I didn't know that the Create React app, something I dabbled with, oh God, years ago when I was first getting into React. I believe before ES6 even came out. I didn't know that was deprecated. So, about a year ago, I was dabbling with the Create React app. I pulled it and then I pushed my own repo, just kind of called the No BS React app, because there was like too much boilerplate in the Create React app. So I stripped it out and pushed it. And I've been using that for kind of personal sites for a little while now. But it seems like I might have to migrate because there are some concerns with the Create React app, which is unfortunate. I'm also not phenomenal at explaining my ideas. I've never been much of a presenter, so excuse me if I'm a little, not talkative at times, or over talkative at times, or not making sense, or losing my train of thought, or my thoughts of trains. In any case, this is the front end. So what I've got right now is these kind of story card components, which you can see there's some author information here. These link out to story detail pages where I have implemented some of the comments, but it really is just all the parent comments. So I haven't implemented the actual children yet. And I'm not a big algorithm guy, so leak code is not my thing. So I need to think through a solution there. I am thinking, and we can get more into this later, I'm thinking that I can do some like sort of recursive function. I think that's the way to go, because you would have an item that represents a comment that has a list of IDs representing other items that represent comments, and so on and so forth, and they're all children to one another. So I'll need to build out some sort of data structure, but I think that's going to require me staring at a wall for like half an hour. So, I might not record everything, or maybe I will. Maybe there are people out there who very much just want to see development from someone who isn't a rock star developer. Oh God, do I have Overflow X? No, there's no reason for overflow. God, I can't keep my glasses on. It's like I have something in my eye. In any case, maybe there is some people out there who do want to see me just kind of flounder through code and fail and succeed and write things in not the best way possible. And there's always someone smarter than me. But, maybe this will, maybe I'll reach, certain people that enjoy this kind of content. As you can see, the comment amount is also incorrect. So it said like one comment, but we went in there and there was obviously more. I want to change these timestamps to be more like Reddit's, where it's like posted, 4 hours ago, or posted 2 days ago, or stuff like that. Let's see. I have some basic pagination down here, although I want to get some like actual numbered pages, and I probably shouldn't be disabling these buttons. And on that note, disabling buttons is not the best thing for accessibility, and I am not supporting accessibility right now. Unfortunately, I need to get some ARIA labels in there. But you can see that pagination works. I also capture state in memory. So as you go through these pages and they load the first time, you don't have to load them again. Um, let's see, what else do I have? I just have a little like nav bar up here. It's not much. It just takes you to the first page. Uh, yeah, I think that's about it for the front end. Um, Now, what's interesting is these stories are in a different order than what I see on. Oh, there's another bug. It lets me go back to page 0, but there is no page 0. There is a page 1. And this is why we're only at version 0.4.8.9, which is the major minor, and then a couple subversions to record even more minor changes. Patches and fixes and small features and so on. So I'm thinking like the minimal viable product's probably going to come out closer to V1, the first major version. So in any case, let's go ahead and look at some of the code, and let me breeze through this because we only have so much time. Let's see, this is my basic index. Okay, so let me close out of some of this stuff here. Just updated the README. And on that note, I have made these repositories public. So I'll go ahead and post the links down below if anyone's interested. And I'll probably post them on each iteration of each video. So feel free to fork, PR, submit issues, whatever. And if you can't do that, just let me know. So let's see. So yeah, code, right? Talking about me losing my train of thought here. So no, we don't need to search there. Basically, this all starts out, of course, in app.js. So this is the main kind of container component for the app itself, of course. You can see here in use effect, I go ahead and fetch stories as needed. And should stories actually be updated, I try and store them in cache, which is really just an object. I kind of toss stuff into. I don't really see a need for a database at the moment because I don't want to store these like forever, Let's see. This thing should probably. This is like, no, nothing's there. I showed you guys that error state. Try again later. I need to handle that better. It shows up sometimes when it shouldn't. I'm bringing in some material UI components, but a lot of this I just built myself because I thought it'd be a good exercise to do so. And in any case, we come here to the story card component, which probably should be named story card. And I set up previews here, the thumbnails. Not going to go through all of the nitty gritty here. You can see I have some React router links to help me handle state. So right now, state is very much just kind of being passed around through the router. There's no Redux or any of that going on. And Redux is not something I'm super familiar with. I probably should be, but that's the way it goes. So we have stories, which are these story cards. Although I think I want to handle these just a little differently because there's like nicer ways to display, to display this. And as you can see, we kind of handle mobile, but these kind of author tags down here can get a little messy on mobile. As you can see, they can kind of push around and stuff. So I think I need like 2 lines again, like the old Reddit does. Let's see what else. Story detail. Now this is one of the more complex like pages I have. here. So there was a big issue where I was sending my buddies like a link to a story here, right? And if we open a incognito tab, excuse my mispronunciation, it would just error out. It wouldn't work. So now I pass state as params in the URL, and based off these params, I am able I am able to basically fetch the state should it not be there through navigation. So you can see retrieve state, and that's me using location.state from the router and the search params here. If I utilize these, if I cannot fetch the state from the router. And if that's the case, then you see me fetching the state, or fetching the stories, fetching the comments, updating the state, and so on. And then I display that to the best of my ability. But yeah, this was actually a rather complex little piece that took me a while to figure out. And then I have an API util. And briefly, before we get into the back end, I want to talk about the Hacker News API and how this works. So everything in the Hacker News API is an item. You can see here items. So they come in, or they come with all of these different details, and you can see the kids here, all the different comments, and so on and so forth. That's great, except what happens is, say you grab or you call out to the Hacker News API. You say, hey, give me all of your top stories. And it tosses you a bunch of top stories, but they're all IDs. They're not like these nice JSON structures, right? That sucks. So now I have a list of 500 IDs, and I have to go call for every single one of those. And when I was handling that on the front end before I had a back end API, the load times would just take forever. I mean, if I load 20 stories on page 1, I would have to make an API call for each and every one of these every time the person entered the page, and it just took way too long. So now I handle a lot of that on the back end. And let's go ahead and look at the back end. So the back end basically has two parts to it, app.js and hackernews.js. Now, hackernews.js is what actually hits the Hacker News API. And then I go about handling the data I get back from the API and tossing it back to my front end in a way that makes sense for my site, or at least made sense to me at the time, you know? So you can see fetch top stories, and see, is it fetch top stories? Maybe it's just, yeah. So here is the app.get, and that's what we call from the front end, and we pass in some params, which are the filters, which include the page, the amount of stories I want, and how much I want to increase the amount of stories every time I switch a page. So if I serve 20 stories, I want to increase by 20 the next time I go to the next page. So amount would turn to 40, amount would turn to 60, and so on. And so I would range from like 40 to 60, and then 60 to 80, and so on and so forth. And then I pass back all these stories as an array with all of the JSON. So if we go back here to the front end, we can look at some of the network calls. Hopefully we have, now let's just refresh. So yeah, there we are. 20 stories, and if we look at the preview for this network call, you can see I just get the JSON for every single one of them. So it's a lot nicer than just getting the ID, basically. But that's a big part of what my front end, or my back end, is actually handling, is these stories and maintaining these stories. So this has been running a long time, so you won't see the beginning of this trace, or this kind of like, maybe not stack trace, but this output history, these logs. But basically, my backend, it grabs all of those IDs and then it starts requesting each and every story. And so all of that is stored in memory on the server anytime my front end actually wants to request it. And then I have a cron job that runs every 30 minutes. It picks up some new stories. And I think I set right now the max amount to about 500. So if there's more than 500 stories, we push in the new story and we pop the old, and I archive it here in memory, so you can see my archives. So I technically could go back and grab all these stories and display them again. And maybe I'll do that. Create like an old stories page where I just display all of these older stories. But yeah, that's basically the long and short. Well, that's basically the short of it. I have some utilities too, but those are only so much, so important. But yeah, I mean, this has come a long way since its original implementation. I'm using, just to wrap this up, 20 some odd minutes in. Okay, it's not bad. To wrap this up, I am using Cloudflare as my front end host. And that's what I'm using to push to production based off my main branches, and then Heroku for my backend. And they were just cheap enough services, it's a few bucks a month at most. So it really isn't too bad. It could be if this got more traffic, but currently it doesn't. And if it did get more traffic, I'd try and, I don't know, bring in some donations, set up a couple small ads at most, maybe. I don't really want to monetize this, and I don't think I should, because one, it's not based on my concept. This is Hacker News. It's just a client. So the only reason I would ever monetize something like this would be to further support the app. I don't need to make money off this, and I don't want to. It feels unethical. Again, if this was like my own API and all my own data, and and I wasn't pulling from Hacker News, maybe, but honestly, I'd rather just get an actual job and like an actual development job. So anyway, that's maybe that was oversharing a little bit on my plans of monetization, but I don't really have any. So, but that's that's the end of it. Again, any of you are more than willing to, or if you're willing to, you're more than welcome to actually contribute to this. Again, just fork and PR. I don't really have contribution guidelines at this point. PRs should just be somewhat descriptive in the title, add some description, and make sure the code isn't, super messy. But of course, I don't really plan that anyone wants to commit to this in any case. But yeah, if you have any notes, I'll take them. Might not read all of them. Maybe I will. But, if you're like, the UI looks like crap, do this instead, then please, speak up. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And until next time.